You have to get out there and be a part of your community. You have to be a part of what that looks like in shaping the next levels. And if you're not doing that, there's just no way you're going to be successful in any regard.
Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points Podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Pain Points Podcast. I'm Lauren Lewis. I'm here with Mario Rodriguez, president of Forseti Protection Group. Mario, thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of the Pain Points Podcast. I know I had to twist your arm a little bit to sit down with me and chat.
Just a little bit.
I know, you're like, I just want to make sure we add value. And the work you do at Forseti Protection Group, which is security in all facets, is so important, I think, to everyone that I'm like, of course you're going to add value. So please tell us a story about how you began Forseti Protection Group.
Yeah, appreciate it. So Forseti Protection Group, we founded in 2012. And honestly, we were sick and tired of working for other companies and what we felt was kind of being left behind. The clients were kind of just a number, kind of just pushing the buttons and going through the motions, checking boxes, and it wasn't something that we wanted to see anymore. At that point, we really wanted to focus on what we could do next and how to really stop complaining.
Yeah.
I felt like we could do it better and just decided to make that change, and that's how it was created. And I'll preface also, too, I always get, when I'm doing speaking engagements, we always get introduced as Mario Forseti. So the name Forseti actually means Norse god of justice. Yeah, so it's an opportunity. Most of the team is either former military or former law enforcement. And it was an opportunity to bring some of that to the forefront of who we are today. So,
which I love that, because I think it's so important to have the background in law enforcement and in military to understand everything that goes into protection and how you protect people and their assets.
Yeah. It's actually, so it's funny because we look at it in that one context, and then we've taken it a step further from our point of view and vantage point. You know, in our industry, you're buying trust, right? And they're coming to us at the end of the day for peace of mind. They're not necessarily buying security or cybersecurity or other pieces. They're looking for a way to be able to go to sleep at night knowing that their business or their assets are being protected. How do you do that? Mm-hmm. The other part of that is being unshakable in that approach. So I hate to call it like a battle-tested or proven approach, but it's more of the client interface and interactions now and what that looks like, and showcasing those successes that we've had. And thankfully, we've been in operations now for over a decade. And all those successes and track record we can present to the client to show that we have a team and solution that's unshakable in what they need. And that's
awesome.
What we look at.
No, that's great. And you want that. You want that confidence with the company that you are using to protect. When someone comes to you looking for security, protection, where does it start? How does that conversation even start?
Great question. Honestly, so it's unfortunate, but the reality is most times something has happened. Mm-hmm. It's usually after the fact. It's very reactive. You have a handful of instances that you will have proactive response or at least solutions, but most of the time it's reactive to a scenario that occurred. That conversation is an emotion-based component. There's some sort of fear factor. There's a hostile termination. There's a cyber breach that has occurred a holiday weekend, and someone comes back and they realize that their email has been hacked and personal data is taken.
Oh boy.
What does that look like?
Yep.
So typically that's how the conversation starts.
Mm-hmm.
From there, your typical approach from any kind of a business or environment, you're looking at a discovery call. How can we help? Can we even help first? And that's oftentimes how we're looking at the scenario. From there, we build out the scope of work and then submit the documents for proposals and engagement from that point on.
What type of services do you provide?
Every aspect of security. What we like to say, if you're looking at security, we protect you from your front door to your firewall. Every aspect in our business is covered. We have the opportunity now, it's called Enterprise Security Risk Management. And really, we're all-encompassing security solution firm that we offer every aspect of security-related services.
So unfortunately, like if someone has an unfortunate situation, whether it is a physical, situation, break-in, something spoil, do fire protection, but
not fire watch, but
yeah. But there's so many things that happen. You're like, oh wow, now I need to like really kick things up a notch and get some security in order. But when you're talking about some of the work you've done and companies that are proactive in their approach, what are the things that they do to make them proactive and differentiate themselves as an organization that's taking the necessary steps to protect their assets and their security and their people?
That's a great question. So it depends on what their needs are. So if it's a client, let's say nonprofit, you work with a ton with those organizations. If they're looking at a grant and anything that comes with that, you might start with a risk assessment for the grant. We've project managed a ton of grants. I think last year we project managed for clients over $5 million in total for their overall security enhancement projects.
Oh,
Designing what those looks like and how that approach is going to be. If you're trying to be proactive, that's one solution. The other part of that is you're looking at, okay, we had something that may have occurred on the property. What's our next steps to not only prevent this, but give the staff peace of mind? How can we move forward to make sure that they know that we're taking this serious? And it could be something like vandalism.
right.
You know, our big thing is innovation over the intimidation factor. How can we strategize and leverage technology, but still use it with the interface of the human element to be successful?
Yeah.
And there's a ton of that today. And I mean, I can even tell you, we're working on a project now that we've been back and forth with the client on some of their security designs. They want a wood-looking door on their actual front door as you're coming into the office space, but they want it ballistic. Well, that didn't exist 5 years ago. It does today. So
Wow.
yeah, so you have that conversation of where the innovation is, where those strategies are, make proper recommendations based on client needs, and then budget, and then how you can be successful.
If someone listening does not know what ballistic means, what does that mean?
Sorry, yeah, we get caught up in our own world. So
Yeah.
so ballistic is a bullet resistant level, either door or panel. You can even go with the wall that's next to us now, even behind us, and you can make that look underneath completely bullet resistant, and that you can go over the top of that with the panels that you see, and you would never know. So it's a new technology that's come out in advance, especially when you're looking at schools and the designs and the active shooter component that has kind of embarked on the country over the course of the last 8, 9, 10 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And so how do you address that? Again, politics aside, that's not a conversation that we're in, but conversations are looking for solutions to that. Politics are politics. They stay where they are, but how do you find solutions to the everyday aspect until those things are corrected?
Absolutely. And how about like windows? Can they be ballistic?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there used to be the only way that you would do ballistic windows was you had the old banker windows and the teller that's, the drive-through version. And how do you do that inside of cannabis dispensary or some other location? And now they have panels that are ballistic level, and you can go to different priorities for that. We're working with an organization right now that is a police department. They want to change their transaction window where you come up and get your property.
Oh, yeah.
So looking at that, they want to make the aesthetics a little bit more appealing. They don't want to have the construction that goes along with it, plus the budget. And they have a grant that's going to improve that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you're working
And you said innovation over intimidation, which,
Yeah.
like you said, even going into a police station,
Right.
whether it's to file a police report or you need just some sort of information,
Right.
it can be very intimidating to go in there. They're cold, they're stark buildings.
Right.
So as we were talking before we started recording, just how important having that sense of community and that connection within a police department in the neighborhoods you live in can really make a difference in helping to improve the overall neighborhoods. Because let's take this step further into the police station itself and make that a little more welcoming, inviting, but still protecting
Huge.
the officers and the staff that are working there.
I'll take it even a step further. So you go to a ton of Bills games and you're
Yeah.
a huge fan, right? So even that community engagement, how you're securing some of these new facilities and
Right.
stadiums. Bills are in the process of building out their new stadium, but that technology is there. It exists. So how do you make that part of the next strategy that you're going into? If you look at a strategy for like something like the Super Bowl, in our world, we look at them as case studies. But there's multiple layers and layers of approach as you're going in. Now, what does that mean? It means as you're walking from 2 or 3, 4 miles out to get to the stadium, there's hitting multiple checkpoints as you're going through that you don't realize.
Wow.
And so you're building these strategies into there, and that's what you're working with the client with. So something as simple as Taste of Buffalo coming up, right, is coming up relatively soon. And if you're looking at something like that, how are you deploying the drone and having some oversight? Where's the command? How do you have the checkpoints where you're coming in and you have individuals work through those checkpoints, and yet they're being scanned and searched or observed in a positive way, but nothing that's hindering their progress. Nothing that actually knows that it's intimidating to them, to make them feel uncomfortable to have to stop.
Yeah, because you still want people to come to these events.
Absolutely.
And you walk in and you gotta go through lines of security. You're like, oh, what am I getting myself into? Is this really safe? So you want to make sure it's still a welcoming environment.
Absolutely.
But you don't want any casualties at an event like that. Because when there's a lot of people, there's sometimes concern for situations.
Yeah, and again, the objective here is not to look at a fear factor. It's looking at solutions. And that's kind of tying it back to the pain points component. Solutions is what the job is of an entrepreneur. Our job is to figure out where the problem lies, find a solution for them, and give them that. In our world, it's security, and that's what we do. But anyone else listening and what you're trying to achieve, how are you solving that problem for the client, whatever it may be? So.
And differentiating yourself.
Yeah.
as a business owner, the industry you're in, an industry leader, you're always going to be differentiating yourself and doing things differently to meet the next thing that comes up. The next pain point your clients might face. It's like, oh, we got a solution for that.
Yeah. You have to have that crystal ball to kind of look ahead and foreshadow, be in front of it. But it's also the timeliness of it, what you can do for your client and how quickly you can respond. We were talking offline prior to, and talking about engagement and what that looks like for the client aspects. But it's also that kind of quick turnaround. If you're looking at it from a deal closing perspective, it's how quickly you have that 48-hour roughly window. You should be able to have a proposal out. If you're looking at it from the, they're already on as a client for you and under your umbrella, what are you resolving and how quickly can they have contact with you? And that's challenging. We all have lives. So what's your involvement? What's your engagement? And that's where you have to rely on staff and SOPs and, kind of your system and processes. So.
Exactly. And I think I said this on a previous Pain Points episode 2. I appreciate a good SOP and policy and procedure. I am not the brains behind it to think about like, oh, what I did. Oh, I should develop this into an SOP so someone else can do it. Maggie, my business partner, who also does a lot of these podcasts, is very good at that.
Shout out to Maggie.
Yes, shout out to Maggie. Like, she'll put all that stuff down. And thankfully, because then it's like, okay, how do we make sure that if one of us isn't there, someone can figure out what to do, or how to do it, what needs to be done. When we're training new people for a team, they have SOPs to follow.
Absolutely.
So, yes, you show them how to do something, but then they can go back and reference the SOP to make sure they're doing it correctly, too.
The goal is to replicate yourself and your business, right? You want to have as many of you as you can. No, again, the challenge of that is no one's going to care as much as you, right? I mean, that's not what we are trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve is the level of success or the consistency. And that is what you're really able to scale and have completed. And then to your point, you have a reference point.
Exactly.
If it's deviated from in any capacity and there's a problem in the business, you can always reference that as, well, why did we go away from core values of the team? Why did we go away from the SOP and what we were given and trained on? And then you can use that as accountability.
Can I go back to it too?
Yeah.
I'm working with a client the past couple of weeks to help with their payroll too. And we sat down with their team member who does the payroll, and she had the SOP, but as we were going through it, we found gaps.
Yeah.
Oh, this is from an old list. Okay, I need to update these things on it.
Right.
And that was last week. This week we sat down with her again. She was not in the room, so we could try and figure it out on our own, work through it and found some more holes. So it was really good practice though. So I realized like, okay, how do we update this SOP to like the new version of Paylocity and the needs as a company as they evolve, especially around pay, like changing employees from hourly to salary and just navigating a lot of those things too. So it's super important. I mean, her instructions were amazing. Yeah. We said to her multiple times, but then just finding those little gaps as someone external coming in, understanding how to do the process.
It's huge. That's outside my world. I don't deal with the payroll aspect for at all. That's way above my pay grade, I'll say. But your ability again to reference that, have clarity, and especially as an outside party coming in, looking at that, if that individual, they take maternity leave, they leave, whatever the case may be, you can take that same SOP and now hand it over, and you're still going to have consistency in the approach. We have something similar, but it's for emails. And it's specific on how we want our emails to go out for the admin or even follow up on communication. And that, again, you want to have consistency. And so there's an opener, there's a middle, there's a component of what the goal is of what you're trying to achieve. Not necessarily a script, but there's just tone and tonality that I think you have to come across in email that's often overlooked. And
absolutely,
I'm guilty of that. I mean, I'm a little bit hard in my approach, I think, sometimes. And so you have to balance that and just remember that you're trying to either help or get some information from the email, get to the next phase and level, and then what does that look like? So,
well, I think you have a good point with email too, especially when it comes to cybersecurity and all the scams out there and phishing emails you get all the time.
Yeah.
We have a very specific tone in a lot of our emails, and a lot of it is our team. We all kind of just communicate the same way, but like we love exclamation points.
Yeah.
So if you get emails from us and there's no exclamation points, it's probably not a real email. Sure. That's probably a giveaway right there that it's a scam or a phishing email.
That's good to know.
So yeah, and you'll see it just to say hello. Our signatures are in every single email, even the replies back. Yep. Sometimes people turn that, that's a setting you can turn on and off in Outlook for signature and a reply, and it's like, I work with clients all the time. I'm like, where's their signature? I don't know the phone. I have to call them and
phone number.
The phone number.
Yeah, happens all.
And it's like, and you got to go back to find an original email. Yeah. It's just, it can be pain. So that's in every single email. We have a certain look for our signatures too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I noticed that when we went back and forth on a lot of our emails over the course of the last couple of years, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're looking at cybersecurity and what you're kind of trying to address in the email approach, it's, I mean, with the emergence of AI in the last, I mean, really last year and a half, 2 years, it's been around, but it's just really blown up and taken off. So that approach really is something that you have to really be cognizant of. I got an email recently from a vendor of ours in New York City, and the CEO emailed, and this is the first time I had ever had contact with him. I thought it was fake. And so I immediately sent and forwarded the email to my point of contact from the vendor and said, is this real? Is this who it is? And he's like, yeah, it's a real email. They're looking for some cyber help and some other approach. And okay, great. And responding.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's just the first time I had ever engaged with the CEO at that level. Typically, it's been one point of contact or another. So you're looking for some identifiers. The issue is the human element. And this always comes back to when we do cybersecurity training with clients. It's the human element takes over. You're rushing. You're in the middle of 3 other things. You might have music on or some other piece in the background. You might be looking at it on your phone.
Right.
And how does that look? Again, give you, I'll call them case studies in our role again, like I said, but best example, another vendor of ours that we're working with got an email at 6:35 on a Wednesday night. They're out in Utah. And so there's a time difference. So no big deal. But the email for the first time from their CEO and president had asked us to have encrypted components. And we had never had that on any email that we had and asked us to log in. Well, first of all, we never log into anything and we never click on anything. And that's just protocol and SOP.
Yep.
But that email came over at 6:35. I'm like, okay, there's a problem. Immediately called him. He doesn't answer. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Next day, call him again in the morning. And he's like, yeah, my email got hacked. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. So some irregularities, but there's some habits that you have to have, as far as end users. So
we had a client that we worked with before, and it sent out like a punch bowl invite. Like punch bowls like that, third party, like an Evite type of thing. It was a punch bowl invite, and I was like, this just seems not right. I'm like, and lo and behold, people probably responded like, is this real? And the other email came out later, like, please do not click on this. They did not send this email out. It is a scam. Don't click. Don't enter any information.
Sure.
And that's the thing, giveaway too. Like when something will ask you for information, like right away, you're like,
right.
Makes you just really make you stop in your tracks.
Sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah, because like you said, you're just doing things so quickly.
Yeah.
You can easily get caught up in that, and
human errors.
They look real.
Yeah.
So many of these emails look.
The emails are very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, I think again, not to bore everyone with these low-level things. I think overall, but I think these are pain points, and they have a bigger aspect. So, to your point, that client that has Punchbowl that goes out, we're looking at it from the next level. So, one aspect is what's your email response and detection. You should have components in there that are built in and know exactly who from the SOP standpoint is going to be responsible for that.
Right.
Who do we call? Who do we contact? And then manage that response. Secondary is they're now on the hook for anyone that actually processed any of that information. And so if their computers or information or systems get infected, hacked, malware, or anything else, and it becomes a domino, that end user or at least vendor is responsible for that. So what's your interaction between that and what's your policies, procedures, and what you're supposed to do?
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and some things that you try to manage, but it's important to have that dialogue as a team, especially from a cyber end. But
absolutely, and that's something we always try and do. If as soon as you see it, scam email come out, you're like, wasn't us. Like, you hover over the email, you could see it's not like one of our actual emails, or there's no exclamation points.
No exclamation. Yeah, it's an interesting time. That's definitely different.
And I think he said not to bore you with this type of stuff, but I think this isn't boring because this is stuff that like everyone has to deal with every single day in this world that we live in, whether it's cybersecurity, your physical security. You have to make sure you are aware of what is going on so that you don't become subject to a situation.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges I'm looking at from an entrepreneur endpoint, again, yourself, entrepreneur, Maggie, you're wearing all these hats, especially if you're an infancy or a startup or some other base. You're wearing all these hats. You're the HR manager. You're the hiring manager. You're the CEO. You're the social media guru. How does that look? And so if you're wearing all those pieces and trying to get everything done, you're typically not paying attention to all these other things. And so the challenge becomes, you and I were talking about a little bit too offline. You have to look at that and sit back and say, okay, where am I at and what am I trying to achieve? One, and then as an entrepreneur, you have to come to the realization that if you're doing that, you just bought essentially a 90-hour work week job And essentially you're just an expensive employee in this entire process that's not actually achieving success.
Right.
So you're not really running a business. You're not owning it. The business is owning you. And you're setting yourself up for a failure at that point.
You're juggling way too many things.
Yeah.
I always say when people ask about what should you do when you're starting a business, I'm like, surround yourself with experts.
Absolutely.
You should not be the expert in everything.
Yep.
Hire people that can help you navigate, your attorney, your accountant, security, IT. Like get a team of experts around you. Of course, there's things you can kind of navigate through on your own, but you really need some of those high-level experts from the very important parts of your business
Absolutely.
around you where you can ask questions and they can help you navigate certain situations as well.
Yep.
And they really can, like, if you don't know the answer to something, you go to an expert, maybe they don't know, for whatever issue it might be, they probably know someone that can help you. So you just kind of keep building that network around you to help you grow and thrive as a business.
I think that's one of the most undervalued aspects. So, you and I think we've seen each other now or known each other at least for 5 or 6 years, I believe. But
Even longer. And
maybe
we're getting closer to like 8 to 10 years. Yeah.
I guess we're getting old.
I know. Don't say it. We're not.
There's
vintage.
grace in my beard already, so I see it. But, for those of you watching, I think you see Lauren, you see Maggie, but, from before all this started and you see all these other pieces, I saw you at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge motivation for me to get out and do things and shake hands. I always call it shake hands and kissing babies, just getting out there and just really just being, part of the community at every event you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an undervalued component. Networking has changed dramatically since COVID.
So much.
But at the same time, it's the relationships that had them.
Mm-hmm.
And so your network of people that you're shaking hands with, that who you know, and it might not be the person that, can solve the problem for you, but they know somebody.
Exactly.
But it's more than just that transaction. You're actually going out and you're having dialogue. You're checking in. You're seeing how things are going. You guys just won an award recently. Having that and being able to share that with your community and your network of people, that's a key factor in what you guys are trying to achieve. I think that's the overlooked part of where entrepreneurship is today.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pain point, if you will. Again, pun intended. But it's just that's the point. You want to get to that and be able to strive for a network of people that give you success.
Absolutely. And you bring up such good points about just like networking and getting out there. It's right when we started StaffBuffalo in 2015 and up really until COVID, we were running around like all these different events, different meetings, different associations and groups and being part of things, which we love. And then I remember when COVID hit was like everything came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And also we started I was like, how do we keep the business relevant and do different things virtually when everyone else is virtual right now? There's really no in-person events happening, and you gotta leverage like social media a lot. And I was doing more videos online about even just how to nail a virtual interview. Like, what should you do? What should you consider when you have a virtual interview? And people learned a lot during that time because some people would be in the interviews, like in their car, phone like this, like that doesn't fly. You need to sit down, and if you don't have a computer, set your phone up on something so you're not like it's all over the place. There's little things like that, and your background setting. It was like talking through all of that because people just weren't aware of how important that is to success in an interview.
Yeah.
And then now, even since COVID, I think we're seeing an uptick in events again, and people are getting back out there. But it's still hard. It's changed, like you said. It's not the same. No, we're not running all over to like so many events. You're kind of being a little bit more selective about where you're spending your time. And
Absolutely.
We're lucky now. We have an amazing team, and we have a bigger team. No, we've had an amazing team, but it's bigger. And so people are getting out more and finding kind of their niche in the networking world too, and spreading.
They're building their own network internally. Yeah. I look at those individuals in your team like that, and I call them the entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so for those folks that are watching that, maybe you're C-suite or some other aspect of it, you're an entrepreneur. So you're buying into the values of the business and what that mission and vision and goals are of success. And that takes energy and time to do. If you're trying to cut the corners, or you're not trying to get out there, again, I understand being cautious with time and energy and kind of being very strategic in that approach. Mm-hmm. But you have to get out there and be a part of your community. You have to be a part of what that looks like in shaping the next levels. And if you're not doing that, there's just no way you're going to be successful in any regard.
No, and you have to. And even if you're not like an extroverted person, you're more introverted and you're not social, that's okay. But I always say, like, I have those, I'm very social, and I might say I'm an introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
Because there's times I go to events, I'm like, oh my God, who am I going to know? Who am I going to talk to here? What am I talking about? I get nervous.
Right.
But you always say, like, bring a networking buddy.
Yeah.
So it's someone from your team or just someone else in the community or, like, in the professional world that they will tag along with you to some networking events. That helps. It's a good buffer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great strategy and approach. You have to have, again, everyone comes in transactional. Oh, what do you do? What's going on? Okay, I'm going to walk away from you because I'm going to go talk to over here and talk to this person or I've been meaning to. Have that conversation and dialogue. If you're waiting at the bar and you're going to get a drink, or if you're going out to events that are the non-drinking ones and they're the mocktails, and even have that dialogue. And would you be opposed if I, sat down with you and had a quick conversation? And typically it's no. Let's have a conversation.
Absolutely.
We can do, and that's the Buffalo community though too. So
I always say I feel so lucky doing business in Buffalo because you have that sense of community and get to learn about so many different awesome businesses locally that make up the fabric of Western New York.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think like the M&T, the Delaware Norths of the world, the New Era, the Rich Products are amazing businesses and they're flagships in Buffalo, but there's so many other businesses, small businesses, medium, family-run, generational businesses that really make up Western New York that a lot of people just don't know of. And we get to learn about that doing what we do, which is so fun.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I think it's overlooked. The amount of businesses that we have here, the individuals that are really going out and stepping outside of their comfort zone, or at least pushing themselves to be part of something here special. I think it's overlooked.
And you've expanded, though, beyond Western New York with Forseti. Tell us about how that has been as you've navigated that growth. It's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, so we, right during COVID, decided to take a leap of faith in lockdown. Since everyone was in that lockdown phase, we decided to make a move on an office space in Boston, Massachusetts, and said, okay, well, there's some uncertainty here, but we think we want to bet on ourselves, honestly.
Yeah.
And we did that, and we've had tremendous success in that office, thankfully. And our services, we go across the country. We've been very fortunate for that. So it's 2 strategic offices in the upper northeast of the United States, but we can go anywhere at any time. So it's been a unique aspect. The challenges up there, I think, it's just time. You're building another brand in a different environment.
Right.
Or not another brand, a same brand, but just in a different environment. And the approach there is the same thing. You have to get out, shake hands. You have to be part of the community. You have to be involved in what that success looks like. And it's a great opportunity. It's a fantastic. I know you've been up there quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing food, amazing atmosphere. It's just it's a great time. And we just completed a couple projects there. We trained over 1,000 people in about a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really great opportunity for us. And the clients, we have NDAs in place, but they were, they're national brands. And
awesome.
Yeah, it was a really great.
That's huge for you guys. It's amazing. Congrats.
Very fortunate.
Talk more about the trainings that you do. Because you've mentioned a couple times as we've been talking, and it's definitely something I wanted to chat with you about today.
Sure.
Tell them, listening, how they can maybe hire Forseti Protection Group to help train their employees.
Yeah, we've been asked to train on a lot of different things, honestly, over the course of the last decade. It can be anything from active shooter training, de-escalation training. So we did a project in South Carolina where it was a hospitality group that was having a lot of conflict with their, not only security team, but then some of their management. They were interacting with guests and it was escalating consistently. And so we were working on phrasing and how to phrase or have discussions with aspects with them. So something as simple as I'm not sure if you know this or not, but the rules are, or our policy is, when just phrasing it dramatically different in the approach of saying you can't do that. So again, I'm a rebellious person. I'm sure half my team will tell you that, or at least personally too. But if someone were to tell me that and you have that discussion, the interaction rubs you the wrong way. It starts bad.
Oh yeah.
Right? You start off on a back foot.
You get defensive too when someone tells you that.
Immediately, right? So this approach is maybe you're not aware of this and you're kind of updating them on the policy. When you signed in, you checked in, or et cetera. So that's been our approach in some of the trainings. We've done a training on risk assessments and, training other security individuals in the field on where they need to go for assessments and how it looks, how you take that strategy, what it looks like, and then how you write your reports.
Yeah.
Making sure that you can have a lot of success, not only for your client, but then again, where's a document going? We always look at it as the document's going to end up in court in some capacity. It could be for a grant again, and it's going for a hate crime grant or a nonprofit grant.
Yeah.
What are those eyes going to see? What picture are you telling it? And how can you close those gaps of security? So
awesome. When you are going into an organization, Mario's just out. Mario's going out for dinner or going to an event. Are you automatically assessing the situation in the room and the building you're in?
Yeah, it's just a habit.
Yeah.
You're taking in a lot of the data, I always call it. So when we train, we try to break it down to its infancy. We look at it as saying, okay, well, what information is there? I'll give you the best example. So I'm a parent. We talk about that. You have nieces and nephews. You have pets, right? You're doing that on a day-to-day already. And by that, I mean, you're taking in the data and information that's around you. How many times have you heard, whether it's with your nieces or nephews, with other animals at the park or whatever the case is, don't go over there, come back over here.
Yeah.
Stay away from the water, watch yourself, right?
Yes.
In our world, we look at that and say, okay, well, you're taking in the data and information. There's a risk that's posed here, what that looks like, and then you're making a decision and action to either avoid or move away from. In our world, we're trying to take you to that next level from taking that from the infancy of that and saying, okay, now apply that to a strategy that when you go to the Bills game, you go to the Sabres game, you go to the fair, you're taking that same information, but now you're processing and saying, I heard something out of the norm, and then there's a danger posed to me, my family, or, you know, if you're a school teacher, whatever the case is, on a field trip, how do we apply that same strategy so that you can make sure that you're getting the advance of, I want to avoid this confrontation? So that's what we try to look at. Again, simplest form.
One of the things I'm thinking of as you're talking about that, back in New York City after 9/11, you know, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
You see an unattended bag, like,
Yeah.
get off the train.
Right.
And I remember my college, or one of my friends and I, we were on a subway in New York City. It was probably 2008, let's say, after we were out of college at this point. And someone was sitting on the train ahead of us. They had a bag, and next thing you know, the person's gone. The bag's still there. And I was like, Molly, we gotta go. We gotta get off this train.
Yeah.
You'd say it was a very harmless situation. The gentleman just went to go relieve themselves in between the train cars, you know, New York City. Between, like, at a stop. And we got off, we looked back, and we're like, there he is. Ah! We, like, ran up the stairs so fast. But we were trained to say, this doesn't feel like a good situation to be in. It was during the day. It was like, 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And then recently, my husband and I were actually flying home from Boston. And we're boarding the plane, and a Massachusetts state police officer gets on the plane. And he's kind of in line boarding with people, but, like, makes his way to the back of the plane. And he's standing back there. Next thing, there's a police officer at the front of the plane, too. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm, like, watching everything. I'm, like, looking for anything else out of the ordinary on this plane.
Sure.
Everyone keeps boarding. He's boarding. The flight attendants are talking to the police officers. I'm like, okay, they're just chit-chatting. Hopefully nothing's too bad. Blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Then they get off the plane, the police officers, and they make an announcement like, oh, someone on a previous flight left a bag on the plane. So we have the Massachusetts State police officers come on to just check the plane to make sure everything's safe. I'm like, they didn't check under my seat. Like, what's in there? I was on edge the whole rest of the flight home, which hour and a half flight from Boston. I'm like, oh, I was never more thankful to be on the ground. Thankfully, it was a short flight, because I probably would have freaked out if it was anything longer than that.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that they took the approach that they did.
Yeah. It was strange.
Yeah.
Like, why would you board? Like, do the check first. Why you have the police officers boarding? It was very strange. But again, I was very thankful to be on the ground. But again, we're always looking at situations like that and trying to assess, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
I think I'm a very aware person, usually to my surroundings all the time, naturally. So I'm sure there are plenty of people on the plane who didn't even notice this.
Sure.
But I was the one that was like,
everything. There's a balance there that I always like to discuss, because you don't want to go to the point where it's so debilitating. You get anxiety driven.
Right.
And that's to the point that you become so that you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to fly again. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So there's a delicate balance between it all. And being aware, I always say that being aware is actually, it's a term that we can change, and you can phrase it as being present. And so, like, one of the challenges I always like to give in training is like, okay, well, you went to Target and you're cashing out. You're not using the cashless system, and you're the virtual terminals or whatever it's called, but you're actually with one of the employees.
Yeah.
Are you looking at their name tag? Are you actually seeing what they're wearing? Yeah, we know it's red and khaki, but are they wearing a pride belt, or are they wearing what sneakers? And having a discussion.
Earrings on, glasses.
Right. Earrings, glasses, tattoos in their forearms, anything else, hands. Were they injured in any way? Those things you're picking up on allows you to be present. And that information, again, is data that you're taking in, and it's just allowing you to be there at that moment.
Interesting, yeah.
There's nothing scary about it. There's nothing, again, it's called awareness, but it's just being present enough that now you're picking up on surroundings, whether you picking up on child that falls or something else, you hear it, you're like, oh, wow, that was sounding pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it makes a decision so that you can make a decision in action quickly. That's all.
That's good to know. I like that. And then even like church, right? Sometimes in church, I'm like, okay, what would be my exit plan? Something happens here. Am I going to roll under the pews? Can I fit under there?
Sure.
Or do they have another piece of wood that I can't get through? Like, there's all sorts of things.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Take awareness and presence.
Presence. Too. Yeah. I think religious institutions in general are very difficult solutions to find. And a lot of that is because the members of the congregation, whatever the religious sect are, you have a challenge of trying to navigate open and welcoming, but then you also have a challenge of, is there any kind of disabilities? Is there able-bodied individuals? What can I do? How do I get them out? Or how do I keep them secure? And that's one of the hardest challenges, I think, today to keep open. But, there's solutions. It just depends on what you want to do and how you want to achieve it. So.
And you work with all types of businesses. You work with religious institutions, schools, nonprofits, huge corporations.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate in the last decade of, vast clientele, manufacturers and manufacturing companies, again, across the country, cannabis and that approach. So we've been very fortunate for the opportunities we've had.
When you talk about the cannabis industry, how have you seen that kind of evolve as we've been navigating it in New York State too?
Yeah.
From a protection standpoint.
It's unique. It's probably more unique than any other aspect. It's compliance driven, as you know. You have to really take a forefront approach of compliance. I often say when we were on the last speaking engagement together, Derek D'Ambrosio was a gentleman that I spoke with years ago, and one of the things that sticks out with me is you're not in a weed business in cannabis, you're in compliance.
Yeah.
The sooner you get that through your head as an owner and entrepreneur in the cannabis space, the sooner you're going to be successful. But it's an interesting aspect. You have individuals that they want Amazon cameras up, they want them up tomorrow, and they want to meet success that the state has put in front of them. The state does not care. They have compliance that they want to see, and they don't care what they want to get done. And there are certain levels of achievement of success that they want you to meet. It's challenging. I envy the individuals that are going to that space, that are looking for these licenses or being held to that standard, because there's a ton of money that you have to invest.
Oh, tons, right.
With very little ROI out of the gate. It's one of the most difficult, I think, approaches. But from a security standpoint, it's one of the most unique. Every environment is different. And so we find that sometimes a pain, but sometimes enjoyable. So,
but I'm sure fun challenge too.
Yeah, it's good.
And
it's good.
Navigating the different types of businesses within the cannabis industry, there's dispensary, processor, grower, there's so many aspects that go into it, and they probably each have their own unique security challenges.
All of them are individually different, as different as each individual owner. And they take on that personality and brand and what they're trying to get to, and it's a unique environment. I think when you're looking at the cannabis space and you're trying to compare it to anything else, one, you can't, but two, you have the ability to be very successful in some of the things that you want to achieve. So you can really be innovative. One example, we used biometric access control. If you've ever heard of that, and if anyone on the podcast has, biometrics, now you have the ability to use your palm. And you've seen, if you go to Whole Foods or any places, you're using your palm to check out. You can use that for access control now. And so you're walking up to a door and you can wave your hand to come through, but it's sold to that person. Right. So as the owner CEO, I want to go back to the fulfillment room. That's open. But then there's a record of that. Right. That's not something that's common, but it's more common now. You have a better track record. You have a better opportunity to keep records that are going to be audited by the state. And then you have a ton of control because it's personalized. So
I think as we're evolving in this world, right? There's a lot more information out there that we can collect in data, and there's more uses for data. So something as simple as that, it's if I have a hand, palm, show to get me in, as far as the door handle, whatever it might be, you really have a log now of regular situations. And if you find something that's out of the ordinary, you're might cause you to look into that a bit more. Yeah. Say, hey, this doesn't seem right.
Well, so
let's find out why.
2 steps there, right? Let's go 2 steps further. One, if you're paying attention enough, then you have the opportunity to be able to say, this is a little bit out of the norm. You have to know anything that you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're taking on a budget and you're doing an upgrade, if you're doing your kitchen at home, whatever the case is. You want to know what your numbers are going to be. And I can't tell you, even the simplest fact of labor and going into a project and saying, okay, well, here's what the labor costs are. What's your overhead? What's your margin? Especially working with the cannabis entrepreneurs. They know that they're buying all these product materials. They can have $2 million worth of inventory in a back room. What's your overhead? How much of that is actually invested on those products? What's your ROI going to be? But then on top of that, how much does it cost to keep the lights on? What's your payroll? What's your insurance? If you have it, which most people don't. You should. But, that's where we take it. And again, that's outside of our world. But now you're going into the entrepreneur world. And those are the dialogue that you're having, just kind of having a network of people and challenging that. I think it's completely overlooked, though, when you're talking about numbers. I forget who told me years ago, but they said, if you don't know your numbers, you're kind of winging it and you're basically a gambler.
Yeah.
And that's really what you realize as you're...
How risk averse are you?
That's it, right? And again, if you're betting on games every week or doing something else, hey, more power to you, you're a gambler. But, if you're gambling on all those, you have investors, you have, these other pieces, especially, again, going to cannabis, but any business, if you're doing that and you don't know what your overhead and margins are going to be, what your break-even point is, you're really setting yourself up for failure.
And when you're investing in something, you want to make sure it's like, you're not just doing it because it's the next cool thing to do.
Right.
You have to make sure it's really important. It's going to help your business. It's going to help you protect yourself.
Yeah.
And you're making the right choice, which I'm sure as you're working with new clients, it's like, all right, well, let's assess what you really need here. What makes the most sense for your business? What maybe is at risk that we can protect more? And maybe what are some trainings we can do to help just, educate your employees to be more present?
There's that discovery call is key. And I think one of the next parts to highlight, again, as an entrepreneur journey is the documentation of it all. Your ability to document all of that, whether it's the discovery call, again, technology and leveraging it. We do a Zoom call today. You have AI that's on Zoom or on Teams. It'll send you the summary. You should have that summary in your client file so that you know exactly what was said, who was going to have the action plan and items that they have to hit by, date, time, any of those other pieces. And then there's accountability to that. But that documentation in anything you're doing is key. And you have to have that success in order for you to really, your back of house, I'll call it, but your organizational components for all of that in your structure are the only way that you can be successful in this approach.
Absolutely. Mario, what was maybe the biggest pain point that you and Forseti Protection Group have had to overcome over the 13 years you've been in business?
12. Yeah, we're in our 12th now. Biggest. Geez, that's a great question. I think there's multiple, but I think the organization for me has been the key. I'll give you the best example. I think we kind of highlighted offline, but it's the ability to be successful in proposals or timeliness. So I remember distinctly, I was in a training that I went and did in Miami and was working with an individual that in my industry, think is one of the best. And I want to emulate a lot of the things from not only the vendor perspective of what the client's getting, but then also what they do behind the scenes on a one-on-one. And we were talking, and he was able to get done in the 5-minute conversation that we had. He was able to get done a proposal for a different person in a different state in 5 minutes, have the proposal sent, the scope of work, the document and template was sent to them for signature, and had all of his payment documentation all set up so that he would be paid in that conversation that he and I were having to someone completely different. And I just remember thinking, man, I'm not even close to that. And this is years ago. But that put and lit a fire. Am I allowed to swear? I forgot.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
I swear a lot. But it lit a fire under my ass at that point. And I was like, well, I need to get it together. And I remember looking back after that and say, okay, where do I need to put this? And so the timeliness of that and being able to say, okay, my pain point is we're losing out to other companies because we take too long to get documents back. That was one big thing. Our ability to scale changed dramatically when we did that. We were able to get proposals done. I can have a proposal done in an hour to you at this point.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. I mean, you have everything set up for template-wise.
And when people come to you, they probably want something in a hurry because they're
Timing.
Just faced a situation probably.
Right.
It's called to reach out and assess their security needs.
The emotion's there, right? So from an avatar standpoint or a client or end user that you're trying to work with, that emotion is tied to that sometimes, especially if it's reactive situation. And that's not trying to take advantage of someone's emotion. It's giving them a solution in the moment when they're ready for it.
Right.
That's the key behind your success.
Absolutely.
So if you have that ability, that's one. So that was one big thing. Next part, I think payroll, you talked about it multiple times, but just having the fear of when that payroll was going to be, are you going to meet payroll this week?
Oh, yeah.
It's grueling, to understand.
It's very tough. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's got to be one of the worst experiences, I think. And as entrepreneurs, you're jumping into this journey and you don't realize that all these folks in their households and other pieces are tied to that, and you're impacting all of that.
They all depend on you.
Correct.
And their checks every week or 2 weeks, whatever it might be. It's very stressful.
Yeah, it adds a layer. But I look at that and I say, okay, well, one, we were able to solve that. But then two, you have the ability then to realize that as you're solving these problems through that, so Pain Point Podcast, right? Realize that as you're talking about these pain points in your business, and as you're talking about it with these other individuals that are coming on, every one of the solutions that you're getting in the pain point is allowing you to get ready to scale to the next level. You have to be able to solve that, because as you grow and you get bigger and you have these opportunities, you're actually going to have more headaches. And so if you think you're going to have less,
yeah, I know.
You know it.
You got a lot more.
Way more. The stress level goes up, the headaches go up, but it's not that it's supposed to be debilitating. It's your ability to then rest on those SOPs or those individuals that you've hired and really be able to scale that. You have to make money without you being able to put out every fire, handle every situation, or be there every day. And your ability to do that will be successful then.
What has been the biggest pain point that you've helped a client overcome?
Ooh. I don't want to get dark on us, but I think after the 2022 tops shooting that occurred here, we helped multiple clients here kind of find peace of mind. I'll leave it at that, because we don't want to get into the nitty gritty of the conversations that we had, but the solutions that we had. But there was a dark time in our community, and very proud of our ability to work through with the clients and find solutions for them in real time that created a safe environment, but then also gave them peace of mind in one of the hardest challenges in our community.
Absolutely. And really help them move forward.
Yeah.
That's
Huge.
awesome.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest one, I think. There's been a lot, thankfully, over the course of that 12 years. So
I'm sure there's a lot, and you provide a lot of security, no pun intended, but to the clients you work with. But it's super important, because as organizations, you want to make sure not only you're protected and your assets are protected, but your people are protected as well.
Yeah. You find businesses in the community that really do care about their people. It's not just going through the motions. You have your bigger ones that just check the box, but you have a lot of good people here, and those businesses care. And when a situation occurs, they really take action, which is key.
Absolutely. Well, you said you wanted to make sure you provided value.
Yeah.
You weren't sure you would provide value to listeners, but I think there was so much value, throughout this conversation, about the importance of security and protection and being present, but also navigating life as an entrepreneur and a business owner. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Mario. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in contact? Yeah,
our website's www.forseti, Forseti protection.com, all one word. Live chats on there. We have admin that's monitoring 24/7. You can contact us on there. You can see our scope of services and work, and happy to have a discussion, see if we can help in any way.
Awesome. Make sure you guys follow Mario and Forseti Protection Group, and we'll also link it, in the caption, the podcast. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining, Mario. It was great.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. Good to see you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.